Alright, Bob's Barn Workshop fans, we've actually got a surprise Christmas present woodworking project today. My daughters saw these little wine advent calendars that they were going to sell at Aldi's that had 24 slots and 24 of these small bottles of wine in there. Well, New York State, being that you can't sell wine in grocery stores, we couldn't buy them locally. We tried families out of town, lived in Virginia, but they could only buy so many per store and all that. So, Bob's making his own. And I just looked at the way it was built, and it's very simple. The center 3 rails, now to make the rack, you need to make it 4 wide and 6 high to get your 24 days. So, I looked at the picture they had, and you need to make 3 center rails that are like so. And how these work is there's a base and then there's a lid that goes on top, and they're just far enough apart that your little bottles will lay in there just like a wine rack. So I measured this stuff out and calculated what I needed. And I guess I could give you the specifics, but just measure your bottles and figure it out. Now what I did is I made the uprights out of, I just ripped 3/4 inch regular pine boards. I got them at Home Depot, 1 inch wide for the risers. And for the little rails, I slid the saw over to 1/2 inch and sliced a whole bunch. Because I'm making 3 of these, I think I needed to make close to 150 pieces of these. Now these are 7 inches long and 3/4 by 1/2 inch. And the vertical ones I made 18 inches and 3/4 by 1 inch. And what's going to happen is I'm going to put a flat board on the top here, and I'll probably put an OG around it, let it hang over, make it fancy. And you got to remember the pieces on the end, they don't need the ladders on the outside, so you know when they all go together they're going to look like this. On the outside I'm leaving it plain. What I'm going to do on the bottom is I'm just going to take a 1 inch board like this and just frame it around the bottom to hold everything together stiff, and then I'm going to have my flat one on top. So I made up a jig that I took a little goofing around, but I've had a piece of plywood. I laid a piece in the bottom so that my 18 inch piece would land here against the block. First I took, this one's a bad one, first I took my 7 inch by 3/4 by 1/2 inch pieces and laid them in, of course I laid it out with pencil first, in 7 spots. You need 7 because you need one on the top too. That's just aesthetics, I guess, to keep the bottle from tipping. Then I laid my 2 18 by 3/4 on here, and of course before I laid them on I put a dot of glue on each one of the cross slats, then laid these on top, then a dab of glue again and laid the top slats. And what I did is I ended up setting my brad nailer to shoot the brads really deep, because I wanted brads that would go all the way through the top and into the bottom slat. And what I ended up doing after I got going is I just put 1 into each piece, pulled it out of the jig, flipped it over, and that would be with a 2-piece like this. 2-piece one. And pulled it up out of the jig. You can see I only did 1. When I pulled it up I flipped it over, and this is one that I put 2 in, but okay, here's one that I put 1 on each side, flipped it over, 1 on each side. And those are 1¼ brads. No, actually they're 1 3/8. A dab of tight bond glue. So anyway, I'm making 3, so I had to make 9 of the double-sided ladders and 6 of the singles. Because you got 3 of these in the middle, spaced appropriately, and 1 single ladder on each end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to size this out so I can cut my top. I'm going to cut my top 1 inch wider so that when I put my OG on I get a little bit of an overhang. And we'll just go around and make a top, and what I'll do is I'll assemble this upside down by measuring these out and Fire and Brad's into the ends of these with glue, and then we'll band the bottom, and I'll make sure everything's square. So once I get that set up, we'll do it. And then maybe a couple days down the road. Now I can't release this until after Thanksgiving, which is when we'll be gifting these. So unfortunately, it'll be very close. You'll have to be on a short schedule if you want to make them to go through December. But that's just because I can't release them now. I'll ruin the surprise. So this is a surprise for my daughters and my sister-in-law, because they wanted these, but we couldn't get them locally. And of course, I built these for about a third, even with the wine. I think I'm building and filling 3 of them for what it would cost to buy 2 of them. So I'm saving money too, and of course I'm getting a woodworking project at the same time. Now unfortunately I rough cut these too. I didn't sand everything. So I'm using my thumbnail to knock off some of the burrs as we go along. But the rustic look is kind of part of the charm. My wife is making up really cool tags for the end of each bottle. She printed those out online, put them on heavy craft paper. It's going to be really cute. Again, kind of rustic. So I'm done with the jig. It's pretty much junk now. Maybe I'll save it, see if they want to. I'll write the dimensions on here. Write the dimensions of the parts on here, so if I ever want to build these in the future, I'm all jigged up to do it now. Alright guys, gonna take a pause here. What I did originally is I laid the bottles out on graph paper to scale, and actually just set my bottles there and look down at them to see how far apart they needed to be. And how it worked out is these slats end up from edge to edge is 3 inches. So if I go 3 inches from here to this edge, 3 inches, and so on across, my gap will be perfect for my bottles. And for the height, it worked out pretty much the same way. I wanted to get them as close together as I could. And actually, if you look at these, the bottles almost lay in between here against there and the blocks pretty tight. So yeah, cool. I'm going to make the tops now, and we're going to figure out how to measure these. So let me do that first. I'm going to lay out a piece of tape and we'll make our measurements. Alright, so I found the actual piece of paper. They had originally drawn out the pattern for these vertical slats on this, and I'm going to use the back side of that for my dimensions. So that's a nice piece of paper. Lay it right out here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right at the far edge here, and I'm going to add my inch. Now if you're using a tape measure like this to measure with, never use the hook. Start at the 1 inch mark at least, and just remember to add the 1 inch. Don't screw up and forget it. So I want it to overhang 1 inch, so there's my first mark. I'm coming in 1 inch. And I said I believe from 3 inches to 3 inches, so I'm going to go, now I'm going to go 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, so that's, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, go to my 5th one, 17, and that slat is a 3/4 thick, so that's actually the first one is a 1/2 inch, and then it's a 3/4, and then I want another overhang. So it looks like my total overall width is going to be 18 inches too. But let's see how that works out. I'm going to sketch these out as I go. So that means this guy's fitting here. I want to get my spacing right. And then this guy's going to fit here. And I might have to adjust this just for the size of my bottles. Yeah, see, that's too far apart for me. So let's move it together a little bit. And that's more than enough room. I want to make this end up as an even number though. So let me see what we got. Let's see, that's 1, 2, it is 3 inches, but it's from the risers, not from the edges. That's where I screwed up. It's 3 inches to the riser to riser. So if I put that on that 3-inch mark there, and the next one on the 3-inch mark, there, I'm just going to move it back so I can see the mark. We're not worried about being straight here. I'm just trying to figure this out as I go. Put that guy in that 3-inch mark. I'll let these dry overnight. I put these together yesterday. I got to use this on the other end because there's a bad boo-boo there. Yeah, see, that's plenty. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're going to fit in there just like gangbusters. And all I want to do is go an inch wider than that. I didn't think it was going to be that wide. I thought it was going to be 12 something between these. And it is. It's 12 3/4, just like I originally planned. So now here we got to mark an inch past this, which comes out right there. So the overall length of my piece of wood looks like it's going to be I'm going to call it 15 3/4 because there's an inch. And there's this 3/4 mark. Yeah, I'm going to call it 15 3/4. I'm a little short on that one. Because I'm going to come out to 14 3/4 here. Actually, it's not that, it's 14 3/4 because I've got my 1 here. So it's going to be 14 3/4 right to there. And then these are 7, so I know the board needs to be 8 inches wide. So, what did I say again? I'm going to use just the hook to guesstimate here. Yeah, 14 3/4 by 8. And I need 3 of those. And for the bottoms, I want them to be, that's 12 3/4 plus 1.5 inches. So that's 13 3/4, that's 14 1/4 for the front trim. And then the sides will be 7 3/4 because I want them to stick out. I don't want to see the seams. And then one little piece across the back, which will end up being the 12 3/4. So I'm writing those all down here so I don't have to calculate it all over again. And I need 4 of each of these pieces, times 4 times, I need 3 on that one. I need 6 of the 7 3/4 because I have 3 units. And the 12s I need 3. And those are all just going to be 1 inch. Just to, this is actually upside down. These are going to be on the bottom. Okay? These are going to be on the bottom, so that 1 inch board is going to come around this way. Maybe I need to make that. Maybe I should cut these right off even at 1 inch. So my 1 inch board comes right up even with that. Make it even a little shorter. Yeah, I could set them up in my table saw and run them right through. Now that's, I've got 16 1/2, so if I make them 17 1/2, I'm going to run these all through at 17 1/2 on the table saw. So 17 1/2 overall length, OAL. Alright, I'm going to go make those tops. I think my wood's already 8 inches over on the bench here. And I got my chop saw set up. I call it a shop saw. I guess you would call it a miter station saw, whatever. So let me get that picked up a little bit and we'll get ready to cut those off to length. So what I'm doing over here is I want to cut these to a specific length. You always want to use yourself a stop block. That'll make very repetitive measurements possible and lengths when you're trying to do a little precision here. I'm just going to make sure this is square. I'm sure this is fresh cut. Perfect. And we said 14 3/4. So I've got my stop block here. I feel just like Norm. One thing with using a stop block, you do have to be careful that if you're doing a lot of repetition, that you don't build up sawdust. But for what I'm doing, actually I made these in feed and out feed tables, by the way, out of just scrap wood the same height as my saw, and I C-clamp them on when I need them, clamp the saw down, so nothing will move. And my favorite tape is right here. So let's check that one more time so I don't make any goofs. But I want that to be 14 3/4, and that would be my measurement. Alright, 14 3/4 by 8. As I said, I believe these are already 8. And they are close enough, so like 8 and 32, so I'm not going to worry about minutia. So we'll set this guy up at 14 3/4. 14 3/4. Okay, I'll give it the minutia. How's that sound? So it's even all the way around. Now what I like to do is I'll bring the tooth of my saw, I'll get right down here, look at my saw blade, and I want to leave that mark just like that. Okay, slide my stop block up. Sorry I keep getting in the way, but it's just the nature of the beast. Clamp my stop block. Now I happen to be lucky enough to have a complete dust collection system in here too, so you notice I've got my shroud and I've got the hose going off the back of the sawdust, so I'm trying to reduce the amount of dust I inhale, so let's turn that on. Let the blade stop so you don't get any hooks. Hopefully, I got enough left. I am going to shave like a 16th off in here. Sometimes we all get lucky. Alright. So now, let's see what we got for router bits here. Sorry, my shop can be a little bit of a mess. Let me clean this up first. I decided I did want my fence just to help collect the dust. To adjust this, you put the board against just the bearing. You bring it out so it almost is tight, but you still want it to ride on the bearing. wood to be sacrificial so it doesn't blow this corner out. I push it through. I took most of it out anyway. Most of the burn off. Do the other two. So one more quick pass to clean this up. We'll do just a quick little hand sand on these. Knock these corners off and those fuzz off a little bit, and we'll start assembly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this out according to my grid plan here that I already have drawn to make it easier on me. And there's my 1 and 3. Actually 4. And 7. And 10. 13. And there's a half. And a 3/4. And that should put us right on the edge again. I sure hope. See how it looks. I'm going to draw some square lines on here too once I get this decided. Okay, so that starts in there at 1 inch. Hey Dad, don't break them now. And as I said, it's the uprights that are at 3 inches, not the slats. Make sure this is going to mathematically work out first for me. Then I'll put my guidelines on there so I can get her straight. And of course we'll use a little glue. That guy goes right about there. Okay, because I got to switch these ends. Oh no, they go in, never mind. I see them off. What did I do wrong? Oh, that one's too far out that way. Okay, duh. It needs to come in a 1/2 inch. Okay, there I get my overhang. And I guess I could have made these a little shorter, but it gives it a little bit of a fancy look. Remember, I was going to cut these off at 17.5 though, so I'm going to set that table saw up and we'll cut those. Actually, my table saw is awesome because it has a great fence. And it's already pre-measured out there perfectly. And of course I have my dust collection on it. And all I gotta do is look at my scale and go right out here, dusty. There's 18, my 17 mark is kinda now technically should be able to guide them right through there. So let's see how that works out for me. These should be pretty square because I squared up all of my all the things with the lines and the jig. And I remember I want to cut that end off. Dust collection. So I just want to make sure my blade is square. And it doesn't look it. Look at both sides. I'm not looking against the tooth, I'm looking against the blade itself. Set up. Be really careful you don't wedge this against the fence. Protection off. All right. Here we go again. From the sweet by and by. Where's my other square? I don't want to make a whole bunch of big lines on here. Make it all covered with lines either. Make it look messy now. I need to come back from these, remember, 1/2 inch on every one, so we're just going to line this guy up. just going to make tick half an inch back from all these guys. Alright, so that should make me right on, boy, right on. And I think all I need to do is I'm just going to make a tick out here a little bit because I don't want a big mess, as I said. I don't want lines all over it. I'm going to set this on here, just being cautious. I'm going to put this on here one more time. I'm going to tack this down from that bottom, and then I might do a few from the top. And I'm looking for the prettiest fronts, which is that one. Some of these have a little bit of grain showing. Oops. That ain't going to be good if I do that. Definitely don't want to do that. Alright. Don't want to make a mess with this glue either. So I'm setting these down awfully carefully. I put my 1 3/8 brads in my nailer. I'm not sure if I got my compressor on. Stay tuned for a nice loud compressor. Oh, alright, she's already on. So I have pressure. You got me under pressure. Come on. There we go. So I'm just going to fire one right there. I went it. You hear it? Oh, difficult to get to. Oh, there we go. Of course, I don't want this to go through my finger. Like it did come right out there. Look at that. Hey, scrapers. Always my luck. Alright. That one I'll just have to break off. And you can see how this is going to go. Get the pretty ones on the front. There's the pretty ones. And put a little bit of go juice on here. I don't know, I might just as well just a little glue on top of here. In the sweet. Make sure this is gonna fit. Oh, sweet, perfect. I love it. I love it when a plan comes together. Make sure they're not coming through the front. Well, I'm tipping them, so they shouldn't. There's my bead in the front. Of course, after this glue dries, she'll be real stiff. I'll just grab that with a pair of needle nose pliers and bend away at it. And I should be able to break that right off without too many issues. I think it hit the other brad underneath. Toenailing, babies. You ever see toenailing with a ham? That looks off. Why does that look off? Grr! It's off a little bit. That's a little better. Alright, now I'm going to square them up. I'm going to use the square when I put them down. Alright, are we having fun yet? That's all. Let's see which one of these looks prettier. It's definitely the pretty side. I think I'm just going to staple cardboard on the backs of these to stiffen it up. Oh yeah, that works much better to just put the square right on there. Wants to be a little cattywampus, but it is what it is. When I put the boards around the bottoms, that will solidify their position. That's just right on that one. Glue, baby. The glue does the work. Alright, we're down to the last piece here. And it's only got one side that's worth looking at, so. You got me under pressure. I think the only way I can square this guy up, I wipe that out with a little stick like that there. This isn't getting any stain or anything, so I'm not worried about staining any pieces or anything. Okay, that's just about an inch, or that's about 5/16 like that. Okay, one thing I haven't done yet is I haven't cut the 4 pieces for the bottom. But as you can see how this is turning out, I'm just going to band the bottom, and all my little wine bottles are going to fit in it just like that there. How fun is that? And then of course, as I said, I'll make sure when I do it I square everything. But it's going to be cool. The wife's making tags for it, and you know, Christmas colors and all that, ribbons, whatever for it. So let me get those other pieces cut. You don't need to see me cut them on the table saw, and I'll put them on, and then we'll have a finished unit. I got all my side pieces cut, and what I'm going to do, just to make this work out, put a little, I hate when that happens. That's all right. It's gonna be all glued together. Right? Put a little glue on here. Put a little glue on there. Put the bad part against the thingy do. I'm gonna give that a good hold. I want the front to line up really well. Tabletop here and hold it all together. Reverse this. I just got to remember to stick it out the back, like so. A little glue here, glue there. There's a rag. Always keep a rag around your shop. You never know when you're going to need to wipe the mess that you're always creating. Oh, yes, I do want that out the back. I should have done that with the top too, but hindsight's 20/20. Uh-oh, nailed to the bench. I tried to. I'll have to flatten that out. Now the front. Got much stuff laying around. I didn't nail that one, did I? Why didn't I nail it? She said. Maybe I'll cut those off and just put plywood on, or cardboard on the back. I don't know. So we're getting there. I thought I needed that for structural integrity. And new. This here is the front piece. You're just going to have to measure these and then tack them as I go. So, glue. We'll start right at one end, even. And now we will just apply some measurements. See what we got. 2 5/16. So push that over to do each one. That's 5 3/8. Probably gotta make a mark, huh? guess that's one way to keep them parallel. Okay, this guy is 8 5/16. That's just about right on. Make sure that measures out. That's 11 and not quite 5/16. It's 11 and not quite 4/16, right? Almost a 1/16 of an inch off. But... all right, campers. Boy, I don't know. I need to do too much else to that other than put the back on. I think I'm going to snip that. I'm going to snip these off with the handsaw. I'm just going to put cardboard on the back. And well, this one will be done. What do you think, guys? Are we ready for Christmas? I'll show you when I get the cardboard put on there, but we're going to go 1 through 24 in our little wine advent calendar. As I said, I did not design this. I saw this online. I just did my best at copying it. So I take no credit whatsoever for the design of this. I'm going to rack this to make sure we're somewhat square, and that kind of did it right there. So if I wait a little bit for that glue to dry, I think what I'm going to do is just do that. I need to get a mallet and whack the top of that down. I have a rawhide mallet that won't damage the wood. She's an old dog. Came from my father-in-law's shop. That's down as tight as she's going. It is what it is. So alright, I think I'm going to let that set up a little bit. See what this looks like. Boy, it ain't bad. Alright, so let's measure the back. I'm going to go find some fine cardboard. We'll make a back. We're going to make that 12 and 5/8. Write that down. It'll be a little shy. Could be 12 and a half. By I'll just make that one 18. I've got a lot, I'll probably send it all to the stupid dump today. You know how that goes. Today was garbage day. You guys have heard my garbage man out there with his Bluetooth on or whatever, and he's talking and jabbering himself away. Hey, I don't care, as I said, as long as he takes my garbage. Alright, well, I'll be back with some cardboard. Alright, so I'm back. And I cut the back. I found that really nice box, as you saw. And I've got my power stapler here. Hopefully it'll help pound these staples a lot easier and gentler than using a spring-loaded one. So I'm just gonna turn this parallel and see if this is square. There's like, no, it's almost impossible, of course, because these are a little twisty. Push these apart a little bit. unbelievable what these will really stiffen this up too. And who knows, this might go in the garbage after Christmas, you know, right? Nice, huh? And all I gotta do is measure the, this is a little easier than squeezing the trigger on the spring-loaded one, right? Now, again, I need to measure these bottoms. As I said, these might even be a single-use thing, you never know. All I'm going to do is compare the bottom to the top here and adjust accordingly. So that guy says he's over 3 5/8. Yeah, that works pretty good. 3 5/8. Right there. Once I get these set, I'll go up the line. They're just a hair more than 6 1/2, right? Yeah, 6 9/16 basically. Well, that one's right on, so that's good. And that guy is 9 5/8. So he's got to come back to me. Alright, about there. And that's it. So now I'm just gonna eyeball it through there a little bit. She is done. What do you think, guys? Is that cool or what? Now you can do this for your daughters, your wives. They can refill it every year. You know, make some cool tags. I thought you could put bars across here out of the thin stuff and a push pin tag with your day labels, you know, your date labels. You get the labels that have the pinholes or the strings on them and hang them on there. We're going to double sticky tape them to the end of the bottles. Unfortunately, guys, as I said, I can't publish this until a couple days down the road here. But unfortunately, I'm going to pull that out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to jack it right out through just like that. Good as new. Okay, here we are, wine rack. Of course, you know, if you really wanted to be ambitious, you could build this puppy for big bottles. Really booze them up. All right, guys, have a happy Thanksgiving, and Christmas is coming, guys. God bless. Merry Christmas. Have happy holidays. Be safe. I'm going to probably have more videos out before the holiday is over, but hi, guys. Well, we're back for just a minute here. I wanted to let you guys all see how these turned out. The wife has been working hard all day, making up all these labels and tags for the 24 slots. And she got the paper tags somewhere. We printed out the numbers online. And you can see the wine bottles in here, of course. And these are going to be some fun gifts. I'm hoping the girls are going to be really excited and jump for joy when they see these, because they were really broken-hearted when they found out they couldn't buy them in New York State. And one thing I wanted to mention is I did one of the backs. I ended up putting glue on. The third one I had not thought about it on the first two. So today I went around with my bigger stapler with longer staples and put a few more extra long staples in those cardboard backs. That's really thick cardboard. It's like over 1/4 inch thick. It's perfect. So anyway, scraps from around the shop. Let's see. For each unit I used a 1 inch wide, 3/4 inch thick, which is just the stock thickness of the board. And there's 10 of those in each unit. There are 56 7-inch by 3/4 by, again, 1/2 inch, 3/4 being the stock wood. There's a 1 inch by 3/4 inch base on it. And this ends up being, I believe, 12 3/4, and the top ends up being 14 3/4 by 8. Again, the sides are 7 inches. The back ends up being 12.5 by 18. And the spacing of these is 3 inches on center. I forget what the vertical spacing is, but you can figure that out pretty easily. It's not a lot. It might be like 2 3/4 if I remember right. Anyway, just a great holiday gift here. Advent calendars made for wine. We went to our local discount liquor store and bought, let's see, 72 little bottles of wine, and we bought a couple extras, so the ones we like for us, of course. And for the 25th, we're going to have a little bottle of champagne with each one. So Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving. God bless. We'll see y'all again later. This is Bob's Barn Workshop. God bless, and thanks for watching Bob's Barn Workshop.